Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this, my second channel, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with all the Flat Earth Debate pre-show and after-show goodness. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, we're joined by a whole bunch of people, as it is the interim stages between the two shows, so I'm going to raise the mic on them, and you can enjoy the dulcet tones of whoever is in there while I set up for the second show.
So
I don't
nothing here works like a real conversation would.
Whoa. No, actually, Eric and I could have a normal conversation. Tony and I could have a normal conversation.
For sure, because you guys, you don't expect them to know numbers by heart. So
just
that's
say
kind
no.
of the point.
You don't
Just
have any
no,
anything. You know, so no citations, nothing. You've got nothing to offer.
And you don't have anything either, and you don't even have a model. So
okay,
Yeah, again,
Laurie, hold on,
Live on
Eric,
models.
hold on, Laurie, again. Okay, listen. That is deflection. That is, you are trying to take the focus
it's not actually a deflection. I'm
Yes, it is.
reflecting
Laurie.
back to you how this conversation is
Okay,
structured.
listen. Did you just hear what you said? You said that's not a deflection. I'm actually deflecting back to you. That's what you just said. It's not a deflection. I'm actually deflecting back to you. Did you just say that?
Just said,
Hey, listen to me. Listen to me, please. When I say, what's your model? And you say, what's your model? That's deflection. That is saying, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, and I don't feel comfortable. And in order for me to feel comfortable, yes, that's what it is.
That's not actually saying that.
Yes, I'm telling you, psychologically, that's what's happening.
But psychologically speaking, though,
that's what it comes off as, Laurie. That's what it comes off as. When
I'm pointing to you that there is a lack of symmetry.
Yeah. Can I just try something with you, Laurie, just quickly? So if I took the same tact, and just for the sake of argument, I'm not claiming this, but let's say I do have a model. It works 100% perfectly. Then you say, what about this aspect of the model? And my response is, I've no idea, but I'm pretty sure in the future we can solve that problem. And that's my response. Would that be reasonable? Because that's what you're doing.
That's not exactly what I'm doing. What?
Not exactly what he's doing. What a wanker. Yeah, it is. It's exactly what he's doing. I just used exactly the same example, repeated it back to him, and suddenly he feels that that's not the same. What a wanker. Get my kids bogies before we start. Really more interested in my kids' snot than listening to Lauri. Oh, I see. You've taken that off, have you? Oh, that's going to cause a slight delay.
Work in an adult conversation. We need to have an adult conversation here, Arwin. None of that bullshit. You need to learn to talk like an adult.
What's your native language?
Just a minute. Did you say an adult conversation? So when Anthony said to you, if his assumption is wrong and it isn't the actual size, what follows? You couldn't answer that. You couldn't just be a man and just say, you know, well, if it's wrong, then all these equations are wrong. That's the logical, reasonable answer that anybody in the world would have answered that, but you never did. He asked you 20 times.
Keyword man.
Yes,
right.
20 times.
Laurie,
But I never threw around insults like Arwin is trying to do here.
I'm not throwing insults. I'm giving you psychoanalysis.
No, you are actually...
No,
Start the show.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live. There's also a PayPal and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly though, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now we are joined by The Plain Truth, Lauri, SX, Sleeping Warrior, Ranty Flat Earth, Eric, Daniel, and Arwin. Hope I didn't miss anybody.
Good afternoon.
Howdy.
Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello, 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 hello. What?
I didn't hear you say no chocolate.
So I was on Poncho Pete last night. I didn't even realize he had a channel. He streams like 24/7. You guys know about him?
Yeah, I go there every day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's been doing that for a few months. I think a few months now.
I think it's been going on for like a year, right?
Oh, maybe more than that.
Over a year.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's open hangout 24/7.
So we almost got to a conclusion on the last show from Lauri. It ended up having to be rounded out by Ranty, which is great because it meant the show ended on time. But yeah, so we've got an assumption that we know the distance to the sun based on an assumption of the size of Venus. So it's a double logical fallacy in the regards that there's an assumption that the Earth has a radius value, and then there's a second assumption that Venus, the star, the light in the sky, is also a physical body like Earth, and it's also spherical and the same size as Earth, that's presumed to be a sphere. So it's a bit of a clusterfuck, really.
We kind of know that planets are spherical, though, because we can observe them by telescopes and they rotate. So
sorry,
that kind of proves that point.
Sorry, does a telescope give you 2 or 3 dimensions? Because my understanding was
but you can see how the object rotates, and you can tell that it's rotating. And you can also predict, for example, one has this tornado on it, the red spot.
So you can
predict how often it is visible because of the way it's rotating.
Sorry, so was that a yes or a no? Does a telescope give you a 3-dimensional view? Because my understanding was that you have 2 eyes.
You can tell from the rotation that it's 3-dimensional and rotating.
Sorry, did you say rotation? So you've gone behind this thing to confirm that it is rotating then?
So when a ball is rotating in front of you, you need to go behind it to see it's rotating.
I've no idea what the stars are.
That's
sorry,
the logic
I was trying to respond to you, Larry. So you're now talking about a ball in front of me, as opposed to the thing we're talking about, which is the absolutely... I hadn't finished. The absolutely unknown thing in the sky that's giving off light, called stars. Now, if you're to compare that to a ball in front of me, that I could potentially go and touch and physically test and all those things, then it's not comparable to the intangible lights in the sky.
I was pointing to the logical fallacy that you assume we need to circle behind objects to tell if they are rotating. I can see a ball in front of me, for example, within a class.
So you've just done the same thing. So I've pointed out that they are intangible and a ball in front of you is not.
Circle behind.
And you're going to completely ignore my objection and restate it. That's annoying. Are the stars tangible like your ball is tangible? Yes or no?
I know it's a bit annoying when I
it's a yes or a no. We do this a lot, Larry. My question is simple. Are the stars tangible?
We can tell they are rotating by the way they...
Sorry, that's not my question.
Appear to us.
My question is, are they tangible?
I know it's not the question, but I don't really care.
Oh, really? Well, then you have no place here, because my point hangs on you acknowledging at least one point that we have without completely obfuscating it, claiming it's not important, restating your position that I've debunked, that sort of crap. I'm tired of it. Do it again. I'm just going to kick you off because you're starting to really annoy me. My question I will ask again, Larry. Are the thing that is being qualified and described in comparison to a tangible ball, are those things, the stars, tangible, like your ball, or intangible, not like your ball?
We can figure out how things are.
That's not my question. That's not my question. That's not my question, though, is it? You're not answering my question. You're doing what I've just said a dick would do. So you're a dick, aren't you, Larry? Because you're not answering me. My question hangs around whether or not we can get any real data from something that's intangible. But you're going to keep telling me that you can just decide and extrapolate these things, right? Based on what a tangible thing does, correct? Well, they're not comparable. One is tangible, one is intangible. That's my point. I would expect you to at least acknowledge it, but you're a wanker. So of course you won't.
So your question here was if we can get any data from something that is intangible. Yes,
sorry, no, first, no, you've misrepresented my question, so you've now rephrased my question. That's not my question. No, you've rephrased my question, so I'm stopping you. I'm talking over you because you're now misrepresenting me, Larry. So rather than deciding that you've got a different question to answer, I'll just answer the simple question. I'll ask it again. Are the stars tangible or intangible?
I didn't actually rephrase your question. That was the way you asked it. So maybe you made an error in the way you phrased it.
Well, now he's bloody well just asked you.
I told you guys verbatim.
Can you just answer the damn question?
It doesn't do that, ever.
Tangible or intangible? It's an open and closed question with one of two answers.
Shout out to Scoop TV for the super chat. Thank you very much.
Face-to-face conversation. I cannot believe he.
It's just a dick. The guy's a wanker, but I'm happy to show what a wanker he is over and over again while he just behaves like a wanker and ignores every question. And then I'll qualify it while he tries to rump us to try and distract and dilute the severe nature of the question. And tell us simultaneously that he can do things that you would normally do with tangible objects with a bloody light in the sky. Because he can look at it with a single lens telescope, not binocular.
So basically what you're saying is you need to...
No, I'm not saying anything. I've asked a question of you, Larry. No, what I'm saying isn't... I don't need you to qualify what I've said. I need you to answer me. Are the stars tangible or intangible? That's a direct and closed question that you're still yet to answer.
I'm pointing out the logical flaw behind...
Oh, right. So there's a logical flaw. It's a question, Larry. There's no logical flaw in a question. It's just a question.
There is a hook behind your question, and it's...
is there? So you're deciding that there's some motivation behind my question? I'm just asking a question. There's no logical fallacy. It's a question.
Of course there is motivation. This is the Flat Earth debate channel.
Right. So you're answering another question about my motivation now, rather than about the stars' tangibility. You said that we have debates that don't go anywhere. And yet here we are with a direct question about the very subject matter of the stars and their tangibility, and you're not answering it. So you are guilty of your own crimes that you have accused us of. It seems you're projecting a lot of your crimes onto us, Larry. Things you do, you accuse us of.
The debates don't go anywhere. So
yeah, that would be because people like you don't answer questions, Larry. You answer different questions that haven't been asked. That's what you do. That's why it goes nowhere. Yeah? So what you're accusing us of, Larry, is actually what you're doing. You're projecting, Larry.
Okay, can we move on from this point?
No, I want an answer. That's another sidestep from the question that hasn't been answered, isn't it, Larry? Another example of a wanker. Here we go. Ding, ding, ding. Wanker time. Let's ask it again. So, are the stars tangible or intangible, Larry?
Sure. Again, basing on a logical fallacy.
That's a question. There is no logical fallacy in asking a question. I am simply asking something. The question being, are the stars tangible or intangible? And again, the wanker on the panel who says that we don't let the debate go anywhere refuses to ask the question and holds the debate up again. So we can't move on because Larry's decided this isn't important and he's going to answer a question that hasn't been asked. Right, Larry? Wanker?
There is a hook behind your question like there always is.
Nathan, is it worth going back to the Venus point? I hadn't quite finished, so I didn't get an answer off him. And I also want to conclude by the second assumption that is there. So I don't know whether it's worth swapping or should we just drop it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. These two things, me going to this extent to labour this point, is intrinsically linked. So, yeah, because when we get to the point that Larry concedes they're not tangible, we're going to start quizzing him about how we would ever know the size of something intangible. But he won't concede that because it's directly... Oh, he's going to talk. You talking, Larry? Time to dilute my point, is it?
I just laughed.
Oh, it is time to dilute my point, you utter wanker. No, Larry.
No,
so,
no, I was...
Yeah, shut... That means shut your stupid, ignorant old mouth. You stupid old man. I will make this point because it demolishes your religious assertions about knowing, based on an assumption, how big a light in the sky is and what that light in the sky is, despite the fact that that defies the very definition of an intangible object, which you won't concede because you know how devastating it is to concede it. Right, Larry? Silence. Beautiful. Golden. Yummy silence. Yum, 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 yum. Taste that silence, Larry. Taste it. Taste it. Revel in it. Soak it up. Soak up your religious belief in this shit. Soak it up, Larry. Yeah, the stars are intangible, you utter retard. Do you understand? Do you get it? You're going to concede that point. Ever. No, you're just going to cough into your mic. Yeah, choke on your words, you stupid religious zealot. You're an utter moron.
Oh, it's now name calling time then?
Yeah, you're a moron. You're a moron. We've spent 10 minutes with me asking a simple question about whether the stars are intangible or not, and you can't even answer it.
That's because you're basically trying...
Oh, now you're going to tell me that's the reason why you're not answering it rather than answering it. How many times have we got to answer? It's a bit like conspiracy cats. How can we have gas pressure without a container? I've asked him that. I think it's 331 times I've asked him that question. Is it going to be like that with you, you obfuscating piece of shit?
I have no reason to play that game either.
Oh, just answer then. Are the stars tangible?
I don't have a good reason to play your psychological game.
It's not a psychological game, it's a simple question. It's just a simple question. Are they tangible?
We can know about the rotation without them being...
That's not what I asked, so that's a different question. You're answering a different question again. What an obfuscating piece of shit you are. These globeheads are real wankers, aren't they? You'd think if the truth was on their side, they'd just be able to answer simple questions with simple answers, but they need to obfuscate and answer new questions that they invent for themselves. So I'll ask it again. Are we going to get up to the hundreds for you, Larry? Is this going to be your question? Are the stars tangible, Larry?
Okay, I'm going to give you an answer just so we can move.
Oh, praise the Lord. I'm so grateful, Larry. Would you like me to lick your boots as a thanks? So are they tangible?
Yeah, actually.
Are they tangible? Are they tangible?
Can you get to Finland?
Are they tangible? Are they tangible?
Can you get to Finland?
Are they tangible? That's a question to me. Are they tangible?
You said you would like to lick my boots. Can you come to
No, I'm asking, are the stars tangible? I said I was grateful that you're actually going to answer. You seem to be obfuscating, answering, even now. What a wanker.
A wanker from Finland, apparently.
So
you didn't know that?
When are you coming here?
I'll come next Christmas.
Why am I being obfuscated still? I want Larry to answer my question. Are the stars tangible, Larry?
Okay, I wanna see where you will go after this.
Of course, I knew he was gonna say.
Well, you can find out once you answer.
I'm coming next Christmas. Answer.
Yes.
Okay, so we answered that. Now, answer the question.
Yes, that stars are not tangible.
Excellent, Anthony.
Where are you going with that?
Now I'm going to hand. Now that you've admitted, now you've admitted they are not tangible. I'll hand back over to Anthony so he can continue with his point.
That took a bit. 15 minutes.
Epic timing from Anthony. Hello, Anthony.
Stop gaming, Anthony.
Maybe he fell asleep.
Maybe. breaks the slightly tense moment though, doesn't it? Eh? Anyway, I'll conclude my point, even though Anthony doesn't get to get his point in. That was the whole point of this in the first place. So, Lauri, if you're to claim that they've gone and measured something, how can that possibly be the case if they are intangible?
I already answered that point because I knew you were going there. If you didn't pay attention, maybe you missed it.
Oh, Anthony's back.
Yeah, I'm back. Oh, so, Lauri,
I actually want to. I will give you. I just want to say this. You're relying. You asked about measuring. You're relying on a unscientific way of defining measuring. Like we can measure things, for example.
I'm not.
Well, IQ may be a bad example, but we can measure, for example, the rate that languages have changed at, and so on.
I'm not at all. I'm using a citation from NASA that tells us how they calculate.
I wasn't actually referring to you, but basically, we can measure things in other ways than just physical.
Well, Anthony,
length.
Let me just bring you up to speed. He's conceded that the stars are intangible.
Oh, good.
Right.
Did that hurt?
It took him 15 minutes to concede it.
It must have hurt that, Lauri.
It didn't really hurt because I knew that all along. I just wanted to point out to you that there is a bullshit point. You always have a bullshit hook behind every question.
You guys, like he always.
You always have a bullshit hook behind every question.
Right. So let's get back to my point.
You mean a point, Lauri?
I asked you at the end of the last show, Lauri, what happens with Huygens when he calculates the distance to Venus if he assumes that it's the same size as Earth? And the question I asked you was, what if his assumption's wrong? What does it do to the maths? And we didn't really get an answer from you. We did get one from Ranty, and Ranty's answer was correct. So I'm going to ask you the question because I want you to answer. If the assumption that Venus is the same size as Venus is the same size as Earth, what does that do to his maths?
If he is incorrect.
I'm assuming it basically would not work.
Right, well done. Now, second question that relies on the first answer. What happens if the assumption of Earth, because you know how they calculated the circumference, you know that value that you're not familiar with? That was done by a bloke called Eratosthenes, apparently. Now, Eratosthenes lived 250 years before Christ. Do you believe that Christ existed, Lauri?
I'm not sure how that's relevant, but
well, because
basically,
there's an issue about whether we can prove that Eratosthenes even existed. But let's just assume, we'll beg the question that he did actually exist. He made the assumption that the Earth was curved because of some sticks in the ground observation and water at the bottom of a well's observation. And the conclusion was that the Earth must be round because of the angles in question. And he assumed that the sun must be therefore trillions of miles away. And that's how we get the rough distance to the sun, notwithstanding the fact that he was miles out. But that was the assertion that you morons believed true. Eratosthenes assumed that the Earth was curved. However, Neil deGrasse Tyson states that, well, the maths works both ways. He admits that the maths works both ways, because if the Earth's flat, it shuts the angle right down and it brings the sun to be very close and local, the way we say it is. So if we have the assumption that Venus is the same size as Earth, but Earth itself was assumed to be a sphere when it equally works out that it might be flat but a local sun, that gives you a 25% chance in being right. Is that a strong position to take, Lauri?
It would take me some time to debunk that, but I would certainly be able to debunk it given time.
Right, so guess what your next task is then? To come up with some evidence or answer.
Sorry, this is not school. This is not.
No, this is your religion. This is your religion. You've got a god.
My religion actually is Christianity, so you would be wrong about that.
Well, no worries, Lauri. No worries. Sorry, Anthony. This is in no way directed to you then, Lauri. Anthony will just make his point and you can just sit silent knowing that you don't have to do anything. Okay?
So Huygens assumed that Venus was the same size as Earth, and that assumption is based on Earth being a sphere when Neil deGrasse Tyson also concedes that the maths works out both ways. So my question next time that we see you is, can you tell us what the truth is and base it on some evidence? I don't expect you to answer it right now, but I want you to go away and find out the evidence to support your position, because you've got a 25% probability of being correct.
Shout out to
That
Tony Oakley for the super chat. He says, thanks for the show, Nathan. Rumpus is a walk in the park compared to this guy. Thanks, Rantony Oakley.
That sounds, roughly speaking, reasonable, because at least you're not putting me on the spot and expecting me to give an answer right now, which is mostly how the discussions like this work. So I would be actually fairly fine with that.
Cool. So let's just be clear so that you can hear it again. He assumed that Venus was the same size as Earth. So it either is or is not the same size as Earth. That's 50-50. But that assumption is based on the assumption from Aristophanes that the Earth must be curved because the sun must be trillions of miles away because of the shadows. Well, if you assume that the Earth's not curved and then assume that it's flat, then the sun is local. So that's a 50-50 as well. So when you reduce it down, you end up with 25% probability that you're right. I want you to justify that 25% probability based on them 2 points. Find us some evidence that proves the size of Venus, and find some evidence that proves the shape of the Earth to support your 25% probability.
That sounds good. A small nitpick, though. I don't think the probabilities are 50-50, but that's basically a non-issue. So I can agree with that.
So the Venus point's either 50-50. It either is the same as Earth,
hold on,
or it's not.
Sorry, bear with me. So what do you think it is then, Larry?
It's really hard to tell. Like, it's basically, well, it's actually a non-point, so we shouldn't even go there. But
no, that's kind of why I braced it. So you would agree that there is a probability involved then?
I'm not sure, because basically the question would be something like, what's the probability of things being like that as opposed to like this? We cannot actually assign probability to.
Well, no, it's based on the probability. You've got two questions. You've got two choices: either Venus is or Venus is not the same size as Earth, and then the other one is Aristophanes.
Yeah, so you're basically saying yes, no, and then you would keep 50-50.
Well, it's not confirmed, Larry.
Okay,
it's an assumption.
Fine.
You see, the problem is, Larry, it's an assumption. That's the problem. You see, so it might be right, it might not be right. That's where we're going down the probability route. You see, my point was going to be though: is it acceptable that something that has a probability of being right is taught to children as absolutely correct and factually accurate beyond any reasonable doubt? In fact, they teach it as being scientific fact when we're actually dealing with a probability about it. Do you think that's reasonable?
So basically, you're now expecting me to give an answer to the question?
Did you hear the question?
While he was giving me a chance to go and study it. I don't see how it's reasonable for now you to expect me to answer it anyway.
I'm asking for your opinion. You don't have to give it. I'll just throw it open to the panel.
Okay,
did you hear the question?
If you're asking my opinion, you're asking for my opinion based on what you said,
no,
I wouldn't say that's reasonable.
Okay, I'll just restate the question. So based on the fact that he is assuming these things, not confirming, not measuring, assuming, then there is ipso facto a probability around that. That's a fact. Yeah? Not the measurement being a fact, which is the point. He hasn't got a fact. There's a probability involved. My question and the opinion I'm asking you for is it acceptable to tell people it's a scientific fact when in fact we're dealing with something that has a probability attached to it?
Given that it was an open question to go for me to study, if for example, I can answer it reasonably and come with a definite answer, so it's not actually probability in the end, then it's rational to also teach it. So it would actually hang on whether I can go and study and find a reasonable answer to it. If it really is probability, but we haven't established that yet.
Oh, sorry. So you think that you have actually established the distance to the presupposition that sphere-shaped Venus is the same size as Earth? You think that's confirmed, do you?
That's not actually what I said.
Well, no, it's either, as Anthony has cited, an assumption, which may or may not be wrong, giving us probabilities, or it's an absolute fact as taught in schools. Now, where we're at is we know it's not a fact, it's based on a bloody assumption, and I'm asking you whether it's reasonable to teach something that is based on an assumption and has a probability attached as fact when it's not.
Well, flat Earth is an assumption, and at least it's...
You utter wanker. Excuse me. There is no assumption when I measure the distance to things, and that is absolutely not the question, you obfuscating piece of shit. Is it reasonable that my children and myself and my parents were taught that scientific fact states, reification fallacy, that the Earth is a sphere and that we know the distance to the sun, when in fact it's based on a probability of likelihood based on an assumption made by a man? Is that reasonable or unreasonable, as I would absolutely assert it to be? Unreasonable as all hell to say something's fact when it's not fact.
Yes, it is reasonable because it's not based on a probability of assumption.
Yeah, so it's not based on an assumption. So when it says he assumed, you are deluded. Can't read, can't listen, and think it's fact when he says he assumed it.
So it's again insult time, fine.
Sorry, do you think the word assumption is the same as the word fact? Are you a dick or what? He didn't factually check it, he assumed it. Stupid moron. Are you disagreeing with this? I'll ask again, do you think this is fact? Do you think the distance to the sun and the circumference of the earth, that you don't know, are facts?
This is bullshit. I really have something better.
Oh, well, piss off then. I'll kick you out. Right, if this is just bullshit, you utter wanker, get the hell out. Stupid little man.
Next time you come in, bring some evidence.
Next time, know your model, you stupid old retard.
I actually think he's trolling. I don't think he's sincere.
Really?
Hey, Woz. How you doing? Or Wes?
That was painful but enjoyable all the same. I hope the audience got the gist of why we allowed him to stay as long as we did.
Well, at the point that he's declaring that it's all bullshit, that's when he could sod off. Anyway, hello Wes, how you doing?
It's Chris.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear me, Nathan?
Good evening.
Hey, it's Chris. Chris Berry, sorry. I think I'm on a different account.
No worries. Just turn you up a bit. Shout out to 787GENX. Thank you very much. That's Michael. Thank you, Michael, for the super chat.
So, I almost don't know what to say now.
That was actually fun.
Really?
just to hear him stammering and just really making himself look like a fool was just funny.
It was.
I don't know if I
found that to be
disagree with him.
Well, you know, I want to say thank you. Just at least he does show what the bulk of religion has. At least religious people can admit, yes, I have faith. That's all I need. These people can't even do that. So thank you.
These people. In this case, it did. I think Lauri is one of a kind mostly. And yeah.
Who goes?
I already gave my judgment on him. I'll do it again.
Who goes on a debate show to defend a belief system with not even knowing it?
Yeah, and he accuses.
That's not what he's doing. He's purely getting in our way. He's arrogant. He's painfully short-sighted, and obviously, willingly disruptive. And that's the big part. He is literally just trying to disrupt the place. That is prerogative.
Does anybody know of other men that actually have a conversation that way? Wouldn't last. I just can't.
Would you join a football conversation if you didn't know what a touchdown was?
Oh, I would sit there and say, "Listen, I'm ignorant. I don't like football. You know, American. I have no idea."
Or say, "Hey, I don't know what a touchdown is. Tell me so I can join the conversation." You don't just join the conversation and just say this and that and the third, and I don't know what a touchdown is, which is the main point of the whole thing.
I mean, I think everybody here is ignorant of some sort of topic. Like we can't know everything. And
yeah, but not this one. Purposely, we're here purposely for this.
But last time I
Can't be
checked,
ignorant on this. You know what I
real
mean?
men just say, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know.
But the other thing is, he doesn't understand what a poison in the well fallacy is. He thinks that poison in the well is just attacking the point he's making, which is not poison in the well. If you're listening, Laurie, poison in the well is where you're due to come somewhere, i.e. this show. You're not actually here, but you are due to. And then you spend an hour before you get here slagging you off. That's what poison in the well is, and that didn't apply today. So you don't even know your fallacies.
Indeed. Anyway. Oh, maybe it has something to do with being shouted over and insulted, called names. Yeah, well, what should we call people that don't man up? You can't be nice to people that way. It's impossible. Sorry. And name calling. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shit show every time he joins. He's never got evidence with him. He never answers any questions. He never argues the point. He deflects with like side attacks, saying, "No, you should be arguing this way, and you should be arguing that way," and never actually getting anywhere with any point, ever. Can you imagine if we actually tried to get him concede something? That's even worse.
No, he can never even start off with answering a simple yes or no to a closed question. Listen, it's fine to answer the question yes or no and then add to it, but you have to answer yes or no first, or I don't know, and then build upon it. You don't just no. Answer the question first and then build on it if you can.
Shout out to the super chat, Nathan.
I did.
But you know what? I think it only goes.
Great show, Nathan. Take him through it, kicking and screaming. Shout outs to all the members of the panel. First 25 was my backup channel. I didn't hear you say that.
Yeah, I definitely shouted him out. It's Michael. He regularly donates the super chat. He's one of those people that's keeping the show going in that regard. If it wasn't for people like him, there would not be a show. Thank you very much indeed.
That guy, Lauri, though, he seemed to have a point by the question you guys were asking him about whether or not it was like a probability type of observation. Like it's based off of probability. I don't think it's based off of probability. I think it's more of a estimate is a better word.
So not a fact then?
No, I mean the exact value may be in question, but the idea that
I'm just going to stop you there.
Similar
yes,
sizes.
That's our point, though. I just need to stop you there. That's our point. If the number is in question, why the hell is it taught as fact?
I think that the precision is what's in question.
Sorry, I don't give a crap what's in question. It's in question, right? It's not fact. It's not 100% accurate, confirmed fact.
Sure, but I mean...
Right, stop. So why is it being taught to kids as fact?
Right. So the distance from like the Eiffel Tower to
sorry,
to
that's
London,
not my question.
It's probably not
my
exact,
question's
right?
the same as the point I got pissed off with Larry. My question's the same. You've conceded. Not fact. Why is it acceptable to teach it as fact to children?
Because they're pretty confident on that number.
I don't give a crap about confidence. It's not fact. And yet, it is taught as fact. That's wrong.
Okay. Do you
That's just wrong.
The difference between precision and accuracy?
Sorry, I know the difference between a fact and not a fact. This is not a fact. I don't give a crap how you justify the closeness in accuracy. It's not a fact. But yet it's taught as scientific fact to children. And I want you to say whether or not you think that's reasonable to teach things that are not facts as facts.
I think absolutely it's reasonable to teach children the most precise answer we have.
Sorry, it's not precise.
The accuracy
It's
is
not
fine. It's the precision
precise. You're strawmanning me. I'm not saying, is it reasonable to teach things that are precise? This is not that. So don't strawman me. That's not the question. I'm not asking, is it reasonable to teach children things that are precise? That's not my question. My question, I'll repeat again. So don't misrepresent my question and answer a different one like Larry did. This is not fact, yet taught as fact. Do you think that teaching something as a fact when it's not is reasonable? Because I do not.
Oh, I agree, but I don't think this is that situation.
Yeah, that is the situation, you stupid dumbass. This is taught as scientific fact. Yummy silence from the retard globe head. Taste that silence. Yum it down. Yum, 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 yum. Yes, that's right, Mark. That's right, Mark. It's wrong. Wrong to teach things as facts if they're not facts. This is not a fact, the distance to the sun in this case. Yet it's taught to children as a scientific fact. It's not.
I want to ask him a question. If we say 3,000 miles to the distance of the sun and you say 93 million miles away, how can you tell which one is more precise?
That's a good question. There's actually a method that Aristarchus had done where he measured the angle of the moon.
Hold on. Let him explain this.
The difference between that value he got in 90 degrees, and that tells you the ratio that the sun is from the moon as far as distances.
Hey, Mark, does this calculations that you're doing, does it comes with assumptions?
No.
So it doesn't assume R, you utter retard?
No.
Yes, it does.
Where?
It assumes the Earth is a sphere.
It doesn't.
Sorry, so you're telling me he's measuring then he's getting a 3,000 mile sun?
No, but the only thing that he's understanding is that the sun, the light is coming from the sun to the Earth and also to the moon. Understanding that, he makes the measurement from there.
Sorry, do you want to take us through the maths so I can show you the R value?
Sure.
Go on then.
Oh, you'd like me to show you? Okay.
Yeah, you're making the claim
the moon
that
to rise.
Sorry, we're getting the distance to the sun, and you're saying sticks and shadows, right?
No.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that he's watching the moon rise and measuring the time it takes, about 2 minutes. He puts that into the time the moon appears in the same spot the next day, which is it gives you a value for an angular size of 0.5. So he understands this. Then he watches the lunar eclipse, and he sees the time it takes for the moon to go across the shadow, as well as how many times the moon's diameter goes through the shadow. And from this point, he understands the eclipse to be.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, he understands that the eclipse is what's it caused by again?
Well, yeah, that's right. It's Earth.
Sorry, it's caused by Earth. So let me get this right. So he assumed that Earth, a sphere, caused that shadow. Correct?
No.
Oh, he didn't. I'm sorry. I'm a bit confused then. Don't talk. Shut up. I'm a bit confused. You just said he saw a shadow and it was Earth that caused it. How would he know that?
Well, funny thing about the lunar eclipse is it occurs at the precise moment that the full moon phase begins. It's the exact moment.
Sorry, that doesn't answer my question. How did he know that the shadow on that light in the sky was caused by a sphere-shaped Earth? I thought he was figuring that bit out. Yet you've just told me he knows that the sphere Earth is causing that shadow. That sounds kind of like an assumption to me.
Yeah, I'm sure it does, but the curve of the shadow was what gave it away.
Yeah, so he's saying so he's saying that the curved shadow is caused by the curved Earth. And that is an assumption.
Okay, or it's an observation.
Sorry, you utter fuckwit. So I am correct, and Arwin is correct. When he does this, he will absolutely assume the Earth is a sphere then. So again, this isn't a fact. It's based on an assumption that a curved light in the sky is caused by a sphere Earth. That's an assumption that Earth is a sphere and causing a light in the sky to have a curved shadow. That's quite a lot of assumptions, isn't it, Mark?
No, there really is no assumptions at all. If you
so he
look
knew.
at the phases, like I
so
said,
he knew. Sorry, so he knew the Earth was a sphere causing that shadow. How did he know that?
Well, because a person before him, I think it was Euclid, he had done his geometry little book, and he's got a couple of laws, a couple of rules, and one of them is that a sphere is the only shape that always.
So he automatically assumed that it was a sphere also then. So he's decided what a sphere will do, and the Earth is a sphere doing that.
Well, he observed it.
What did he observe? He observed the Earth as a sphere, did he?
He observed the curved shadow that the moon.
Yeah, we've
always
gone over
crosses
this.
into.
He observed a curved shadow and assumed Earth being a sphere was what caused it. We've gone over this twice. You're being a wanker. Excuse me. You're being a wanker. He assumed Earth as a sphere caused that shadow. That's a fact.
So at the precise
Yeah,
moment.
no, not right. The precise, just right. Yes, Nathan. He did.
Well,
as
no,
I...
it's
Shut
either
up!
an odd.
Shut up!
Mm-hmm.
He did assume that Earth was a sphere causing that shadow. Yes, Nathan, that's correct. Say that.
Yeah. So if every time.
Not
you
yes,
lie, you were
yeah,
robbed,
Nathan,
you could
that's
assume
correct.
whatever you
Not
wanted, but
yes,
as far as
so.
man's robbing you.
Excuse me, you utter wanker. This is your last chance. You will concede it with a clear and concise English yes. Not yes, so. Do you understand, retard?
True, so.
You will respond to my absolute statement of fact with a yes. He did indeed assume Earth caused that shadow and Earth was a sphere.
He concluded that the Earth was a
He
sphere.
assumed it! Last chance. Get the eject
another
button
one?
hovered over this utter
He
wanker.
concluded
Get this
that the Earth
eject
was a
button
sphere.
ready
It
while
was
I ask
pretty
him
simple.
again as he
That's the only
talks.
shape that gives those shadows.
Not
It occurs
so
at the
he
precise
assumed it then.
moment.
So saying it's the only shape is to say he assumed the Earth was that shape. Yes.
Sure. Just like the
Not sure
solar eclipse occurs
muttering.
at the exact moment that the new moon phase occurs. So it's really not an assumption whatsoever.
Get out. He absolutely assumed it. You're just a lying sack of garbage like all of them. We know he assumed it. Hey, P-Mars.
Hey, you dumb fuck nigger. I think you are pathetic.
No need.
Just like a garbage.
No need.
Bye, P-Mars.
Diving deeper and deeper.
If you want to
Lower
lie,
that
Mark
bar.
or whoever you are, Goldemo, we're getting trolled now because we won't let the trolls lie about the assumption made about the Earth being a sphere. Hello, UKPI. Hello,
Hey there.
UKPI.
Speak up now.
I think
3,
he's a troll.
2, 1, kick.
He's a Glover. I know that.
UK Pie, he's a troll. Pie.
So
Well,
far
no,
we've had two people come in and they've made a complete arse of their argument.
Boom.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Jose.
Hey, Jose.
Yeah.
Hey, I'd like to know what evidence they even have that it is a shadow in the first place.
That's the point. They assume it's a shadow caused by Earth being a sphere. And when this guy goes, yeah, so he makes the mildest of concession, then tries to move on and later says, oh, it's not an assumption, it's a deduction. Oh, right. So you think that by replacing the word assumption with deduction changes the fact that he made a little guess that it was caused by Earth being a sphere, precisely our bloody point. You're going to deny that? Just a liar. Or ignorant, who cares, don't care. He assumed it, we know it, everyone on the panel knows it, everyone in the audience knows it. We all know it, but this asshole has to come here to obfuscate and say, nah, it wasn't an assumption, it was a deduction. Like that somehow makes it factually accurate.
Well, I have could the moon not have some sort of aperture on it that just closes and opens and closes?
Could be a
Why does it
million
have
and
to
one
be a
different
shadow?
things. Eric, you can assume
That's assuming
anything
that's
you like.
physical.
You can assume
Right.
it's just a matter of proving that. So yeah, you could, like he did, assume that. But that wouldn't make it factually accurate. So if you were to assume that the moon has got an aperture and it's opening and closing, well, yeah, you can make that assumption if you want. But if you teach it to children as scientific fact, that's an outrage.
Right. So why would my assumption be crazy in his mind, but his is right?
Oh, because
He's the religious fanatic, and you're just speculating.
But I could work out my assumption that it has an aperture, perfect, and work out perfectly with maths. This is how they think.
It's still an assumption.
Yeah, probability.
As long as
I'm just playing devil's
so
advocate.
it's not a fact until it's a fact. Ridiculous.
That's the point. Doesn't matter which way you go. The whole original question was, is it acceptable to teach something that's not fact as fact? And when it comes to quantifying with the difference between a deduction and an assumption, it doesn't matter. It's still not a fact, and that's the point of the question. Is it acceptable to say, science says the sun is this distance? It's a fact, because science says so. When it's not a fact, not even remotely close to being a fact. An assumption.
Science is tangible, and it's a deity.
Well, we have an example where the government themselves have told me that the fact that the Earth orbits the sun is a scientific fact. I've asked him for his evidence, and so far, nothing.
Crickets.
Yeah.
Can I get a warning?
Go ahead.
You can try.
Can I bring this back down to earth for a minute? I got two short videos to present, and I think people in chat would like to see a little bit of footage, if that's nothing wrong. Now, this is hopefully Arwin or anybody in the Skype chat will present it for me, please. Okay, first of all, I caught this little piece of footage a few weeks ago, and I was scratching my head because I took a footage from a boat, 20-foot high observation, and then very, very low observation. Now, this is the case. The waves were about a foot and a half waves, and I put my camera about maybe 4 inches above the water when I was really, really low. What's going to happen with the horizon? Because of perspective, the horizon appears to ramp up to go up to eye level, you know, and then the sky go down. So the waves are going to appear higher than the camera that I got it like freaking 4 foot off the ground. And I was looking at this, I said, like, did I get the curvature? I get obstruction because of the freaking waves were blocking like almost the whole bottom of the boat. So I had to beg the question and use the perspective hijacking curve calculator. I said, there's going to be no obstruction in a 1.5 mile away boat, you know, 2 miles. I put 2 miles. I put 20-foot high observation. There's no obstruction whatsoever. So I can see the whole boat. Now I put 0.33 observer high as a 4 inches high. And then it should be in the ball, in the model, it should be like a foot, freaking obstruction. But the whole bottom is obstructed because of the waves. And you can see the footage in a second after this one. This is like a 17-second video. This is from 20-foot high, what I'm seeing right here. And then when you play the other one, that's really low in the water. And you're going to see it. Who's presenting, Arwin?
You can also see what I was kind of trying to describe on Ranty's picture. So
right,
I don't know if the audience, you guys in the Hangout, oh, can you go back, Arwin? Oh. You can just pause it.
That's the highest observation right there, yeah.
There.
Yeah, pause.
It's not quite. It wasn't quite as good as what I was hoping. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I was going to point out that you could see a slight inferior mirage just behind the wave, but I don't know if you'll find the exact point on the right-hand side of the boat. There we go. There we go. So just at the bottom right-hand corner, you can probably see this very, very tiny little tip of mirage. Can you see that?
Yeah, I see it.
And then then the waves are obviously higher in this instance than on Ranty's perfect mill pond. So in essence, if these waves weren't obscuring it in the near foreground, midground, you'd see the diffraction limit at the lowest angle, but it's basically obscured by the waves.
Exactly, yeah. So this is really high. This is the whole thing is seen in there. Now in the second video, I went extremely low. I mean, and then as the perspective takes place, when the horizon, look at the camera where I put it right there, like pretty much almost lined up with the water. And then the waves being a foot and a half tall, that's gonna block. That's gonna be higher than the lens of the camera. So look how appears to be obstruction. So I presented this on the Discord on GenPanda, and they say like, you got nothing there. It's too low. They actually gave it to me. They say you got no observation. There's not a flatter proof. There's not a ball proof. You went too low above the water, and it's the waves that is blocking the boat. So if anybody is trying to troll in the chat and saying I got the curve, you guys are wrong, because the quote unquote experts on the ball religion are telling me I got nothing, and I figured it out. I mean, it's so easy to see. It's the waves blocking the bottom of the boat.
Right. This is so reminiscent of the one that Ruhif presented, where they had a cargo boat that looked like it was half cut off at the bottom, and essentially it is waves in the foreground versus waves in the background, and you've only got to lower your elevation to cause an obstruction from the waves in the mid to close foreground to be higher than the thing in the distance that's smaller. So proportionately, you can have a small wave blocking out quite a considerable amount at the bottom of the boat. Well, when this gets even worse, i.e. the things further in the distance, that effect is 10 times more severe, i.e. a little wave that can block a boat that's... How far did you say this is, Jose? A couple of miles?
This is 1.5 miles, 2 miles tops.
Right. So if you can do this, if you can have this effect at a couple of miles, what do you think is going to happen when that thing shrunk by 30 or 40 or 50 or 70% into the distance? Well, you'll lose the whole boat to these little waves in the foreground, right? Oh, no. If it's out at a distance beyond 10 miles, then it's definitely Earth curve that's causing this. Not
That's
perspective.
ridiculous, yeah.
No, well, it's not.
And I was scratching my head. I say, just with the perspective point, I don't have to point any mirage or nothing. Just with the perspective, with the floor apparently ramping up to my eye level, you know, because I'm so low, and then the waves being higher than the actual camera because of the horizon rising up. That's the obstruction right there. It's just perspective, pretty much, you know.
Absolutely. So when
Small
Ranty's pointing out,
and the bottom of that boat is not a foot. That's maybe 15 or 20 foot that is being blocked in there. So how is it even possible? Even if you if you want it to be a ball, there's not a 20-foot obstruction. Let's say a 10-foot obstruction in a 2-mile distance. There's none. It's not.
Right. So next time somebody shows a boat in the distance and says, why is the bottom of it missing? It's like, well, we've got the same effect here at 1.5 miles. So you're claiming that suddenly it's become Earth curve when it looks like the exact same effect, i.e. waves in the foreground being bigger than the thing in the distance that's obviously smaller because it's far away. Potentially, a small wave can block it.
You can still see it mirror it down here, see?
Yeah, I did. It's exposing the diffraction limit layer. I see what you're saying, Arwin, as the waves move in and out.
It's just slightly in front of it, but the mirroring back there is still going on.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to present this because I think it's just, you know, kind of what we're talking about. It's just a little too extreme, a little too low to see what an actual small 1-foot wave can do damage in a short distance. So you add up 5 miles, 10 miles, 20 miles distance observation, oh, you're going to be missing a lot.
That's awesome.
Do you want to see something cool, Nathan?
Yeah,
look
definitely.
At my screen.
You're going to round out the show with this, Ranty. So are you
Thank
done,
you for
Jose,
presenting it, guys.
I'll done one
No
second,
worries.
Ranty. Are you done, Jose, or was there something else you wanted to add?
Yeah, no, I am done. That's all I wanted to do. Thank you for presenting it, and people take note.
Absolutely awesome. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Ranty. You're on.
Yeah, I just found this little nugget. This is shark boat. If you remember what shark boat what looks like, there's his jaws and there's his little eyeball. But this is a different day. So I'm just going to play the video, and it's going to freak you out when you actually start watching it. How it disappears.
What? It's getting swallowed by the sea.
Whoa, it's like it's sinking.
Yes, disappearing, and then it comes back.
That's the waves.
Ranty, that's literally the proof of thingy refraction that we were talking about. You know, when you were saying about the mirroring in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
That's mirroring, but not in the atmosphere. It's doing that Rayleigh diffraction. Cool.
Very cool. So as the deck is raising and lowering with a slightly less calm water, it's reducing the angle to it, but you've also got mid-ground obstruction in the form of waves. So it looks like it's literally sinking because the deck's raising, limiting the angle, causing more diffraction, or the boat to go more beyond the diffraction limit, while simultaneously waves in the foreground raise up beyond the midpoint of the camera where it's looking at the boat. So you have an obstruction from things in the foreground that by virtue of perspective are bigger than the boat, whilst the deck is raising and limiting the angle even more intermittently because it's moving. Excellent. This is what
is beautiful. While Ranty, myself, and other people is taking footage, then the other guys, the smart ones in quotes, they're behind a computer modeling and throwing lines in a freaking computer program. How about that, you assholes?
Even if I do say it myself, this has been a really good couple of shows. Do you agree?
Yep.
Indeed.
Please share the show if you're watching. Good numbers as well. Nearly 250 people watching. Wow. Just glanced across at how many people are watching. A lot of people watching this. Ace. Love it. Right. Does anybody else want to round out with another point, or can I?
Yeah, watch Flat Earth Early Bird show.
Yeah, watch Flat Earth Early Bird. Right, with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible, and of course a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. In a few minutes' time, over on Nathan Oakley channel, the pre-show will air together with a repeat of the last debate, should you have missed it if you're a late riser. Once again, I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
It's a Ronnie Wheelbarrow.
Oh, he's
using Gore's biggest troll.
He's trying to like create a rift, but doesn't really know what he's doing. It's hilarious.
He claims that I beat
He said, "Can I fight you, Chocolate Saint?"
If it was anybody else, I'd just hear the quality of the insult, because you can't deny, Arwin, that pre-cum show is pretty funny as an insult.
It was. I have to say it. Sorry, it's funny.
What? Which? With one where? What?
When he called it the pre-cum show.
Right.
It was funny. He's pretty creative.
I guess in a disgusting kind of way.
Yeah, it's dark.
Yeah, I don't like that. I hate that. I adamantly oppose that in a spiritual level, and I take that very seriously.
Adamantium?
No.
That's not a word.
Adamantly.
What?
Adamantly.
Yeah.
It's a fancy word, Arwin.
It sounded like he's mixing up adamantium and
no, that's what it's adamant. Adamant.
Are you talking about movie like Wolverine?
Adamantine, like the fictitious super strong metal, is derived from the word adamant.
Yeah, I get that.
So I am adamantly
okay. Now you got
opposing that.
I'm just fucking with you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I was suffering. I was cringing over here with that Lauri guy, obfuscating like the whole shows, bro. It was, oh my god, crazy.
I just have to laugh because I know I called him out directly. I have no more screens. I know exactly what he is, and he is a very nasty person and a troll.
Yeah.
And he has nothing but false modesty and pretense and arrogance. And shit for brains, because he's actually not really that smart. He's just really, really nasty and tenacious.
Can you see my screen, guys? I'm just going to play a video for just 1 minute if you just want to listen. It's what I did earlier.
No, we can.
I almost got 800 subscribers.
I'm not seeing.
Do you want me to play it, Ranty? Because it's rubbish if you play it.
Yeah.
signs of curvature? I'll be back. I'm back.
Round. Flat.
Round.
Any signs of curvature?
I'll be back. I'm back.
Any signs of axial rotation?
I'll be back. I'm back.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
I'll be right back. I'm back.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
I'll be back. I'm back.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating multi-line core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth? Any evidence that you can have a gas pressure without a container? About the R value?
I'll be back. You've been back enough.
Well, that's it. That's concluded our housekeeping. Thank you very much.
That was good.
Who made that?
I did.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's funny.
That was the short version of the show.
Yeah, that's about it, isn't it?
That's Housekeepers with Globers.
That's it. That's literally the show.
Do we have evidence for any of that? No. All right, thanks for the show. Good show. See you tomorrow.
I'll be back. I will be back.
That's Rumpus. I'll be back in like 2 weeks.
All of them.
4 months later, I'll be back in a week.
Which one? I forgot. Was it Lauri, or was it the last guy that said that probability is okay to be taught as
yeah, that was the last guy. That was Mark.
Oh my!
Unorthodox.
I mean, do we
you
even
can
know
say
what
it was the Yorno, but it was unorthodox?
Probability should be taught as fact. Come on,
wasn't
logical.
unorthodox.
Come on.
That was the other guy that called himself.
Come on, probability is fact. It's very solid.
Yeah, it's quick.
A percentage of chance of something being
Hey,
that's as
Arwin.
good as totally true.
If that's the case, why they don't teach religion, or or God, because God is a probability.
Yeah, pretty well.
So why they don't teach it? As
Round
fact?
2.
Probability, no.
Because the natural world and the natural sciences are all connected to probability.
Design is required.
Hey. This is getting sad.
I mean, I'm religious though, but I'm thinking like that, if that's the norm for everything, just to be like.
Right. I mean, you're religious, but can you prove your beliefs, or is it faith based?
It's faith based. Yeah,
okay.
Of course.
That's okay. That's okay. I don't know why.
That's the difference, is that you can say that and you're aware of that. You're aware that you have a religion based on faith, but these guys have what they believe to be facts based on the faith. So based on facts that they can't back up.
It must suck to be one of these kind of guys that, I mean, what are they going to do in the future? How are they going to hide the fact that they weren't dumb? They're going to have to delete all their channels and it's just, no, I was never really a baller. No. First time I saw Flat Earth, yeah, I was on board. Liars.
Yeah, right. The internet doesn't forget anything, unfortunately for them. So good try with that.
Very sad. I don't know how you guys are so patient with that Lauri or Larry or whatever the heck he's called.
Because it's fun. Fun for me anyway. I
guess.
enjoy hearing it. But you know what? I think it's also good for the people out there that are listening to this. You know what I mean? It's not just about us, and it's not really even about Lauri himself. It's about that mentality.
Yeah.
And displaying that. That's why I think, it's good when somebody like him doesn't get kicked out immediately, because it displays how silly their arguments are, how they really have no facts.
Well, by definition, they don't have an argument.
Exactly.
To argue, you use countering facts. which these guys don't have any of.
Hey guys, I'm going to bail. I'm going to leave you to it.
Like, who's the religious guy here?
Thank you, Ranty.
Catch you all later. See you later, guys.
I'm one of it. I don't know if there's more people that is religious.
Yeah, I mean, would you argue, would you debate the existence of God, or would you just concede that, listen, it's my faith and I believe it and that's it? I can't argue it.
Well, from a philosophical stand, my argument is that everything that we see is it has an intelligent design. So that's my only argument, but I will never go as far as to try to convince you of
I mean, would you enter a debate about the existence or non-existence of God, or would you just
not with the like, well, it depends on the person though, because most of the people don't really are open to change their mind.
Well, like the evidence you said, I mean, I kind of agree with, and I can say, okay, if that's what you see. I mean, I couldn't argue against that either.
It's not evidence though. It's a logical link that I'm making. You know, it's like a connection that I make. If I see everything in my life that is it has an intelligent design, therefore for me, it's logical to think that somebody else created us.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the way I think.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I don't follow any specific religion, but I'm also not an atheist. I do see that there is something beyond the physical material world, but seeing that it's outside of the physical material world, I can't give physical evidence of it. So, end it there.
I will never argue as a fact though, because I mean, I'm religious and everything, and I have doubts sometimes, you know, like, and I think it's healthy to be doubtful sometimes. Makes you question things.
See how we just had an easy conversation there about where we stand, and yet these assholes come on here and can't answer simple fucking questions.
Oh, that guy was, I don't know what's his problem, man. He doesn't want to answer anything. Because you know why he doesn't want to answer anything is because in his head, he's thinking ahead of what Nathan is gonna say after he answered the question. So that's why he doesn't want to answer the question.
Seems like he's trying to steer it the way he wants it to go, which is just, it's dishonest. Just have a conversation, have a dialogue. And
that's the point with this guy. What's he's trying to do? I mean, he doesn't put forward anything, you know. He's like question what we know and what we don't know, and he doesn't put forward anything. That guy has a problem for me in my point of view.
They all do. Like even the last guy that was going on about the eclipses, and like he just doesn't even see that he has like calling it a shadow. Like I would, if I was Nathan, I would have said, wait a minute, how do you even know it's a shadow in the first place? Forget that it's coming from the earth.
That last guy, if my memory serves correct, is a guy who has called himself Giordano before. And he's come on here and he's tried to tell us that we're stupid and he's trying to help us out. So, yeah, that's where he's coming from. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, if they were intelligent, they wouldn't call us stupid. What they would call us is, actually the proper term would be nescient, that we don't have the science. The science means the knowledge, which we don't. We don't know. We don't know what the moon is. You claim to, and you don't have any evidence for it. So you're actually, by definition, they're ignorant. We're nescient.
Thank you for the talk, guys. I'm out of here. I'll see you.
Hey, Ozzy. Ciao, buddy.
Did anyone else pick up on the fact that was the first time that argument had ever come from the Globe side? I've been waiting quite a long time for that, and I didn't even spot that he'd done it until I asked him to clarify, because they've literally never come in with that argument before. Ground zero, where the very first assumption began. How did they assume in the very first instance that Earth was a sphere? Well, you heard it. The guy gave a reasonable rendition of the story. They look up at a light, they see a shadow, and go, that shadow's curved, therefore Earth is causing that shadow because it's a sphere shape getting between the sun and the moon. Therefore, the Earth is a sphere. So that is ground zero. That is the first assumption of Earth being a sphere. I've never heard anybody bring that onto the debate before. That was the first. Just pissed me off that he thought he could get it past me that it was an assumption. Like, do you think we don't know? I think he assumed I didn't know the story because initially I didn't recognise that that's where they don't normally go to there. So my automatic pilot was kicking in. I was like, well, what are you talking about then? And then when I twigged, I was like, oh, right, you're literally giving the first assumption of Earth being a sphere. Like, that proves it. Wow. Amazing. Great to hear it. But he still assumed the Earth's a sphere, causing that curved shadow.
What do you mean it was the first time? Which part are you on about? Are you on about Lauri?
No. The Mark guy, Goldemo or whatever he's called. He's got a dozen different accounts. But yeah, that's the first assumption. So when you say, well, your sticks in the shadows are an assumption of R, well, no, there's already the assumption in place when that's done. And that assumption has come from the curved shadow on the moon. So that curved shadow, according to them, is caused by Earth being between the sun and it, and being a sphere shape, causing that curved shadow. So that is the first assumption that Earth is a sphere that he's detailed.
But I've always looked at that assumption and watched the moon, and especially when it's a half moon. Why does it? Maybe it's me, but it always looks like it's a perpendicular. It doesn't look like there's a curve when it's in the half phase.
No, he's not talking about the phases. He's talking about eclipses.
You're muffled.
Not talking about phases. He's talking about the eclipse.
Yeah. Oh, okay. The eclipses.
So with the shadow on the moon, they assumed the Earth was a sphere, and then they back that up with sticks in the ground. and use that assumption to back up the previous assumption.
Correct. So from there,
moon phases, eclipses, and sticks in the ground.
So they're backing up assumptions with assumptions and presuppositions, and that's how we got facts. Okay.
Correct. They call it a logical deduction. So they say we deduce by virtue of logic that if there is a light with a shadow passing by and that shadow has a curve, it logically implies that Earth is a sphere causing that light to have a curved shadow on it. That is their quote-unquote logical deduction. Now, they can say, no, it's not an assumption because it's a logical deduction. Don't change the fact that it's an assumption. It is an assumption. They assume Earth's a sphere causing that shadow. That's the assumption. And that's the whole point. Well, you're trying to prove you're on a sphere, right? So ground zero is somebody assuming it. Oh, right, that's not very good. Oh no, it's not a assumption, it's a logical deduction. I could have thumped him. You know, I was so angry when he was like conceding, going, yeah, but... And he says it under his breath so quickly, the concession, that he thinks that that'll fly. Really, really annoying. It's like, no, you're not just going to say, yeah, but... And then move on really quickly.
That's the rumpus technique, isn't it?
They try that a lot.
Because Nathan, he needed to get to the maths to really prove it. He just wanted to get to that, and the maths work out, and then that's it. Story closed.
Yeah, he did transpose, because we went from sticks in the ground and me saying he had to assume R, and then him saying no, he wasn't talking about Eratosthenes, correct? So he did actually change his tact. I'll have to listen back to where he slippery changed, because either I was confused and thought he was talking about something else, but I could have swore blind. I said, well, where did he get the R value from? He just assumed it. And then, no, maybe that was a direct connection, because he was like, no, we got the R value from a guy assuming it. That makes it okay.
But no, there was no assumption because, no assumption for a shadow. And then assumption of the curved Earth. Yeah, okay.
Is that the real Travis?
And why can they not get it through their heads that looking up in the sky doesn't mean anything about the Earth?
Because they don't want to get it into their heads. That's why.
Well, what you want and what you get aren't always the same, ballers.
It all depends on what you're going to take.
Yeah.
It all depends on your objective. You want the reality, or you want your image, your model.
The thing that annoys
So
me more than anything
priorities.
is what they're peddling as logical deduction is actually logical fallacy. So it's the usual formal logical fallacy affirming the consequent. If the Earth is a sphere, then we will see a curved shadow on a light in the sky. We see a curved shadow on a light in the sky, therefore the Earth is a sphere. So it is just the usual, exact same as ever formal logical fallacy that they use to beg the question and affirm the consequent. So if the Earth is a sphere, we'll see a curved shadow on that light in the sky. We do see a curved shadow on the light in the sky. Therefore, the Earth is a sphere. This is excellent deduction in logic. No, logical fallacy.
It's a presupposition-based deduction.
Well, it's amazing how the ball religion has replaced the true meaning of being nescient with a religion. And then they go and call us ignorant. Amazing. Well,
Yeah, but it's not ignorance, because ignorance is not knowing about something, and we know everything about it.
well, no, it's willfully ignoring. Like, you know, if you ask me about
No, but it's about believing. They think we don't know it. We just don't believe it.
we look into
And
it,
we can reason that out why that is. And they think that we then just don't know it, because if you know it, then you must believe it. Because that's the way they actually have taken it to themselves.
well, no, what I'm saying is ignorance doesn't mean stupidity. So you're willfully ignoring information that's there, that's accessible, right? Like I could learn about how the NFL.
No, acting out of ignorance, doing something without knowing the full picture. No, ignorance is simply not being in the know.
But no, but it's willful, Arwen, is what I'm trying to tell you.
That's what it becomes, but
Yeah,
that's not
there's a
where
bit
it
of a
comes from.
I think there is a bit of a difference between being ignorant and just not knowing something. You can be ignorant and not know something, but the ignorance that Eric is talking about, it's the willful, not, you know, it's just hearing something and just saying I know what it is, and that's that. That's being ignorant.
No,
You know what I mean?
Look, Arwen,
There's a
no,
difference.
that's not.
it really is the definition. I'm sorry. It really is.
Right. Well,
Well,
I don't know. I guess language-based, that would be more technically correct, because it is about ignoring. So
if I ignore something, okay, put it to simplify it, Arwen.
just what I said.
If I'm ignoring
That's
something,
just what I said.
okay,
Why
so
don't you
you,
actually listen to other people instead of just waiting until you can say something? I do my best to do it. It would be good if you did it too.
You should stop yelling at people too.
oh, me or Arwen?
I'm not yelling. Call this yelling? No, I yelled to Lauri.
Not anymore.
Just being a little bit more pressing than usual.
Press. Okay.
I had a dude at work that I'm working with, and he was curious about the show that I'm listening to, because I told him I'm live on YouTube right now. So he put it on, and in 10 minutes he was dying and saying, "Yo, this Lauri guy just sounds so stupid." it's not even funny. Like, he just sounds really ignorant, and he actually used the word. He was like, "He just sounds ignorant, this guy." And I told him, "Yes, exactly the point. This is what we deal with every day. This is why I'm on this shit every day."
Lauri's still in the chat arguing.
And what's really sad about that, Lauri, is not only is he ignorant about what the flat Earth message is, but he's ignorant about his own damn religion. Simply amazing.
I mean, right now he's really one of like the worst globers that are coming in here. Like all he's doing is destroying their argument more and more every day. So
Now,
for me,
he's
great,
doing
coming in here every day.
pure distraction. Guy, Lauri is Rumpus tries to kind of make sort of an illusory point that he holds on to, like, oh yeah, I'm 98% ready, blah blah. It's like an illusion. This guy, he just constantly focuses purely on psychological tactics. This is his primary focus. I can feel it. I can hear it in his voice. It's the only thing he's preoccupying himself with. Only the psychological focus. And what he does very persistently and constantly is always find a distraction. No matter what is done, no matter what is asked, no concessions, no answers, nothing. Every time this happens, always, every single time, just keep on distractions until basically he pops. And then he just, sure, yeah. Then he says yes to everything. And then a minute later he forgets again. And he goes, do the same thing all over again. He does not care about anything, about conceding, about not conceding. He's purely there to get in the way and to break your mind apart with confusion. That is what he does. He's a sociopath. He's active.
I actually agree with that.
Keeping himself artificially stupid to rub that off on you. That's what he's doing. That's my analysis.
Yeah, I mean, is his goal to make flat Earth look like bullies or just mean assholes? I mean, it seems like that's all he's trying to do, which is
trying to burn you out. That's what he's trying to do. Yeah.
Well,
can't do it, of course, because we're way too trained, but that is what he is doing.
So I'm saying, like, we've been at this for a while. He's going to have to try a little harder than that.
I know, and he is trying harder every single attempt. But haven't you noticed? He's getting worse every single time. He really is. This is his mission. And he's just finding that we're a lot stronger than he had anticipated when he set out to do this.
But
he is doing this. That is his objective, to break us.
They all assume that we're weak and we have no arguments and we don't know what we're talking about. That's why they come in here so confident.
Right.
So when they do get destroyed, that's why he has to start cursing and flipping out and get triggered, because that's what you got when these stupid flat earthers are destroying every point that you make. So there you go, buddy.
Uh-huh.
And Rumpus, at least I'll give Rumpus this. If he comes in, at least if we ask him what's the circumference of the Earth, I think he could actually answer that. It might be wrong.
No, he'd answer it, and then he said, "You should know that you utter moron. You're also retarded. Why are you even asking these questions?" That's what he would do. But he would actually answer.
You see, but we don't have to ask Rumpus a question like that, because we know that he would at least be able to recite that garbage. But somebody like Lauri who comes in and we ask him that, hey, that has nothing to do with the point. That's exactly the point. Again, I don't go into football chats to talk about football and not know what a touchdown is. That's just stupid.
Bingo.
So, yeah.
It's psychological.
That's why I love. That's why I love Chocolate. He kind of just breaks things down into like later. That's kind of my tactic as well. So simple. He can't still figure it out. Like what Chocolate just said, it would still go over his head. Or he'd be a piece of shit, dishonest thing that he is and just ignore it. I don't know which one exactly it is. Probably dishonest piece of shit.
Can we talk about something else?
Yeah, I'm hoping to hit 9,000 subs in the next week or so. If my growth continues and nothing disastrous happens. Yay, 9,000 subs.
What?
I'm sorry. I'm just tired of Lauri. He's an idiot.
You made it to 9,000, Nathan?
Not yet, but within a week or so, if I continue to grow, I'm not Simon Dan. I can't see the future and know where I'm going to get in subs, but hopefully I'll get to 9,000 in the next week or so.
Is Travis still on?
Well, you could always buy subs, right?
No. Well, I could, but I'm not going to. I even encourage people not to subscribe if they've already subscribed. Right? Subscribe if you've not done so already.
Mm-hmm.
I have a firmament question. You know, we always talk about we're all sort of afraid to say if the firmament, if there is an actual firmament, and by that I mean physical dome. And I get why. Obviously, we don't have definitive proof. We use the gas pressure argument to sort of allude to it. But I guess hypothetically speaking, since this is the after show, you know, one question I have for the panel is if can reason follow this logic, or can logic follow this reason rather? If the Earth is flat, that in some way gives way to the dome being either real or more real. In other words, if the Earth is flat, it was created. So what are the odds that there is a dome and that was also created, right? In other words, it's not as fantastical to believe in the dome if you believe that the Earth is flat, which is in and of itself a fantastical idea.
Yeah, I'll say this. The necessary antecedent for gas pressure is a container. So if you want to take that to its next logical step, you're welcome to. Now, I don't necessarily need to make that claim to debunk the assertion of space. However, the logical conclusion would be there's a dome. If you want to assert that, you can, but then somebody can pull you on it and say, what's your proof of it? You don't need to. You don't need to make that assertion. I don't know that there's a dome. There could be something else up there that's causing pressure to have something to press on. I don't know. It's the honest answer. But the necessary antecedent is still the same. A container.
Well,
right.
I'm kind of back and forth as to whether, because I don't know, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but the concept of a dome having to be big enough to be, you know, obviously what it would have to be. I mean, to me that's a little crazy. So, but at the same time, it's like it's either that or there's just nowhere that has no air pressure. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So can I follow that up with saying the Earth is huge?
Yeah.
Right? The Earth is huge, and if you're a flat earther, I have to believe that you believe it was created by a higher entity or power or God or whatever. So
wait, why if you believe it's flat, does that more or less mean you think there's a creator or not?
I said if you believe the Earth is flat, you would also have to believe it was created flat.
Well, I don't understand. Oh,
I don't think for us it's a matter of believing that if it's flat.
Right. So
I thought you were saying that if you believe it's flat, then that's more reason to think that there's a creator.
That is what I'm saying.
Wait, I mean, Mike, I gotta back up a little. If there's a dome, then there's a radius, and there's a dimension of the Earth, which I don't know. And then is the Earth, or are there multiple domes on a really large? Maybe I don't know. But if there's a dome, then there has to be a radius.
We don't believe the Earth is flat. We know the Earth is flat. That's a difference, though. There's no, for us, there's no question about that.
Yeah, but
I don't know what that means. Is it a cube? Is the Earth a cube? I don't know. I mean, is it in space? Is there an? I don't know. I have no idea. So I mean, the thing with the dome is then there has to be a radius. And maybe there's multiple. Maybe the Earth is
not necessarily, because a dome would be more like a semicircle, or a radius.
But it has to go down
an entire circle.
It has to cover. I mean, a dome covers a fixed thing. You can't have a dome over in what you have an infinite. That would be an infinite.
Right. So yeah, I guess you could say
it would be an infinite ceiling. You understand? Like to have a dome, you have to have an edge. Like that's where the end meets the. And the dome
what Eric's saying makes a lot of sense. Like everybody assumes that it should be like a dome where it has edges that connect to ground, but it could just be like a barrier. You just can't get past.
I mean, if it's an infinite plane, then then you by nature you couldn't have a dome. It would have to be something like a ceiling or something. I don't know.
Yeah, this is just more of a play, a sort of a call it a play along sort of discussion, right? So if for those of us who believe the Earth is flat, and I use believe as just a word, I get it. You know the Earth is flat, fine. For those of us who know the Earth is flat, and also believe in that there's a dome, you know, does it lend more credence to the fact that there's a dome if you know the Earth is flat? I believe if the Earth is flat, it was created. It had to have been. It's one of the reasons that they're lying to us.
Do you want a simple answer, Chris? Yes. The answer is yes.
Sorry, the answer is yes to what? Which question?
Does it lend more credence to there being a dome when you point out that the necessary antecedent to have gas pressure in the first place is a container? Yes. The answer is yes. Okay. Well, to come to that conclusion, you would first have to throw out the notion of a spinning ball flying through what? The vacuum of space. So, in terms of the way you're trying to connect it, does flat Earth lend credence to dome? Yes, it does. Do I want to make that claim? Absolutely not. I have no idea. So I'm not ever going to make that claim. But if you want to draw that logical conclusion, it is a valid logical conclusion to draw. Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a follow-up question to that. So Travis, or this is months ago, Travis and I were having a discussion on the show about the Bible and Genesis and the description of the creation of, you know, the basically world and heavens and all that in Genesis chapter 1, right? And he said that everything in there is phenomenological. In other words, or phenomenological, however you say it. In other words, just because it says that the sun and moon travel around us and the earth is stationary, well, they just sensed that at the time. Therefore, there was really no divine influence in that thought. Then I asked him, this was a few weeks ago in a Skype chat, I asked him, it also says there's a firmament. The firmament is not phenomenological because they didn't know about it. They didn't see it. They couldn't touch it. Right. So if the firmament is real and if it is in the Bible, then does that lend more credence to the Bible having more truth in terms of the creation and some of the stories?
No, it's just a book.
Yeah, I just feel like if someone that has no idea of like religion or concept of it, I mean, it doesn't change that they can still exist and be a normal person. It's just a story that someone started.
But how would they have known about the firmament? Is my question.
Could have come to the same logical deduction that we've just done.
That's possible, but I don't know enough of the history of it, or if they knew about, did they know about gas pressure back then? Did they?
See, I think they would only come to the conclusion of a dome if they also came to the assumption that there was a place that had no air pressure, like outer spaces. You know what I mean? We have never experienced a place that has no gas pressure. Yeah, sure, vacuum chambers that have been created by humans, sure, but all of us have never been to space. So I can't say whether or not there's a place out there in which I will need a suit because I can't breathe because there's no air. That's the only way that I think they can come to an assumption that there is a dome. You know, unless they got to the dome, then it wouldn't be an assumption anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you would only be thinking dome if you're thinking, okay, there's here where there's gas pressure, and then there's up there where there's none.
Well,
so who would have been the first to assume that out past a certain point there's a vacuum now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know who was the first guy to come up with that. You know?
It's just hard to think that they're like literally like in The Simpsons, someone just like lowered a dome down onto where we are, and that's the result of the air we breathe. Like, it just like if you go past or you go beyond the dome at sea level, well, is there air still?
Do you to use SX's phrase? Do you know the Earth is flat? Whoever that was just talking, I don't know your name. Sorry, Daniel, maybe.
Do I know if the Earth is flat or not?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's flat.
Okay,
I've
so
never
you
seen the curve.
so you believe and know in a completely insane, fantastical concept of a flat Earth, but you find it hard to believe that there's a dome?
Wait. So just observing your environment and taking it in naturally is one thing, but to believe that there's like a physical dome encapsulating the air that we breathe, that's fantastical.
I think
Well, it's not fantastical based on Nathan's argument.
The fact that we were convinced that, you know, water can stick to the underside or the side of a ball is what I think is fantastical and insane. Assuming that the Earth is flat just because of how we experience the Earth, I don't think is insane. We're only called insane and stupid because we were all taught a different paradigm and we're going against that. You know what I mean?
I guess like the barrier that's up there could be a result of not an actual physical dome, but just like the result, like when just something that happens we don't understand yet. So when there's less pressure, less density, you know, it's sort of like people don't know how superconductors work, but you can experiment with them, but you just can't explain them. You know what I mean? Like it could be something where the molecules, when you get them high enough and away from the ground, far enough, they somehow change. And then there's above us, there's just like an energy that we just can't be a part of because we're one type of energy and up there's a different type of energy.
I mean, I don't know. The infinite plane thing I think for me does a little bit more than the dome. Even though, you know, I think the dome is very possible, but I don't know. I just can't imagine a place, you know, that you can go somewhere that's a completely different medium as far as gas pressure. Like, how can we just be able to just travel into a vacuum from where we are now? That's insane to me.
Infinite plane doesn't answer gas pressure.
No, it doesn't unless there's just gas pressure everywhere.
I have a question. Have you ever
It's
guys
also crazy, sure.
have you ever guys heard the word ozone shield?
Ozone?
Ozone, like O-Z-O-N-E.
Ozone layer.
Yeah. Oh, so you guys have. So I have a question. What do they say that is?
Well, supposedly that protects us from the harmful evil sun rays and.
Yeah, but is that a solid or what is it?
It's a gas. Ozone is a gas that happens when lightning strikes, and oxygen molecules, instead of being separate, they become, instead of O2, because of the ionization of the lightning, they turn into O3.
Yeah,
ozone has all kinds of special, interesting properties, including medical applications. It's very interesting stuff. I used to be in that like 10 years ago.
I always found it fascinating when one of the first things you come across in doing the research is the Werner von Braun's tombstone, and it of course has the link back to the Bible passage of, and God showed his handiwork and the firmament, and that just has always. I know that's not good evidence, but just if you're a researcher and you're linking, one thing doesn't mean anything, two things doesn't mean anything, right? Three things that you're starting to see a pattern, 4 or 5. So all these things linked together.
And we're seeing a whole lot more than that. So I know what you mean.
Yeah. Like, why would that Nazi NASA rocket scientist have that Bible passage on his tombstone? It just doesn't make any sense.
It is weird. The world is filled of those kind of anomalies, let's call them.
Or it's not an anomaly, and he knew something, and he left a message. That's the other.
And those are anomalies that don't help role model in any way, shape, or form. You know, imagine having to believe that, okay, who they call the father of NASA has a quote on his tombstone about that somehow relates to the firmament. Like, how the hell does that make any sense? You know what I mean? None whatsoever. In my opinion, anyway.
I don't know. I can't. I know it'll piss off some flat earthers, but my feeling is that man is incapable of actually figuring out the actual dimensions and mass of the Earth. I know Arwen will hate it, and people like Dell will hate it, but that's my suspicion. It's my gut feeling. I don't care how much science or technology we apply. I just have a feeling it's not. Maybe we're not meant to, you know, if you go towards the creator.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, here we go again.
Here we go
We're
again.
not meant to do. You know who used to say that? Priests. That's
Okay,
that's
fine.
their lessons, their wisdom. That's what you're saying right now. Do
Prove
you,
otherwise.
do you realize it? Do you
Prove
realize?
otherwise. Prove it's just I'm not saying that I believe this. I'm saying that's my feeling. Okay. I don't know why you
You
get so
should see
angry
where
at
that feeling's coming from. What's motivating you to do that?
Well, what if it's true, Arwen?
Well, what if the Earth is a globe, Eric?
Oh, see, I knew Arwen would get
No,
triggered.
that is a serious question. What if? It's useless. It's a useless assumption. It discourages to engage and figure things out. Because it's giving you a reason not to do it, because it might be impossible. Because it might be impossible. That's useless.
To figure out on this shitty Earth, Nathan.
Well, then why you don't drop your gravity assumption, though?
Jesus. Yeah.
Well, maybe you should pay a little bit more attention to
Maybe
what
you
I've
should
been
focus on
doing
some
in the
other
last
things
few
other than
months
flat ball.
before you say something silly like that.
Focus on things other than flat versus ball. Open your mind a little bit more. How about that?
Open my mind? Are you serious?
Yeah, there are other topics.
Are you asking me to open my mind? Seriously.
In this world, other than flat versus ball, you do realize.
Don't be arrogant, Arwen.
Jesus, I just posed what I feel. I never said it is the truth. And you freaking jump on me for just proposing something that gets your panties in a twist.
Right.
Yeah, Eric was kind of just asking a question out loud. I don't see any.
Yeah,
I was
he
sharing
did it on
my-
my show,
We-
and he does it everywhere. And what's the point? Are you gonna try to
but
get
he's
some
just-
answers
he's
to
just
that question,
speculating.
Eric? Are you gonna get? Is that question you're asking? You're doing that to get some answers, or is it just a question that doesn't get an
No, it wasn't a
answer,
que- it
and you
wasn't
just
a
want to
question.
ask it because it
I
sounds
wasn't
kind
even
of
asking a question. I was sharing what my feelings are. I wasn't asking anybody a question or for an opinion. I was sharing my feelings. That's it. Full stop.
Well, you did it in your feelings came in a question format, so
Yeah, it's sort of.
Yeah, what if
discouraging.
question.
It's a discouraging thing to think that we won't ever know, or
Indeed.
people just say.
that's
"Oh,
what gatekeepers do.
you'll
I'm not saying
find
you're a
out when you
gatekeeper,
die."
but
The worst one
that's
for
what
me
they
is
do.
like- the worst one for me is like when they say you'll find out when you die or something. Like, what? How do you know that? How do you know you're going to get all the answers when you die? What if you
Well,
just
you're
die?
gonna find that out one way or the other, aren't you? Either you do or you don't. There's no point in pondering on that even, really. You can trust on it or you cannot trust on it. But what are you going to do? We're going to test it out?
The reason I say that is because I don't see any validity in knowing these things. I don't give a shit. What's the mass of the Earth? Who gives a
Yeah,
fuck?
exactly.
What's that gonna
Yeah,
change?
I
What's that
know,
gonna-
I know.
Why don't you tell me? You still going to go vote? You still going to believe your government?
Well, maybe I will vote. I have voted, but not on any mainstream party. I have a very specific party in mind that I do vote on because I like, I know those people. I've been with them.
All right, you tell me, if man can figure out the mass and dimension of the Earth, what is that going to change for the good, for the better?
You can apply that knowledge it's very actually critical for resonance related technology, because you need to know mass and a dimension, literally spatial dimensions, when you want to attempt something relating to resonance in these kind of matters. If you wanted to use resonance to change the Earth some way, then you would need to know the mass. Otherwise, you can't apply it correctly because you don't know what you're applying the sound. You don't know the right frequency to hit.
So basically, it's going to do nothing in freeing humanity from being
right, because you didn't really listen what I was saying. Resonance technology is real. Resonance technology is real. I've been subjected to it. It works. Okay?
Yeah, but Eric, like in 5 years' time, if people figured out how to get, so if we have this much land that we know about right now, and in 5 years' time, if we got further and doubled the distance, think about how much more land there would be for people to explore. And if you wanted to have a family somewhere remote, you could do it.
Oh,
okay. But I think there's
hold on.
plenty of land.
I want to jump in for a moment on a good subject about what Daniel said, because it's funny that you mention it. Did you hear that the Russians are right now working on completing a new radar system? What do they literally call it? An over-the-curve radar system. You know why? Because it can scan accurately up to 5,000 kilometers. 5,000 kilometers. That's the technical specs.
Wow.
They said they can, with that system, technically pick up a Cape Canaveral launch from the other side of the world, from Russia.
From ground-based radar.
Yeah. You can see there's pictures of it. So, cool. Yeah, it is relevant. It is absolutely relevant, and it is.
I guess if you're a fan of the Venus Project,
get there. It's all about the mind control. The big thing, what Flat Earth is about, is not even about the truth, although that is our directive. That's what our path. It's about the mind control. It's about the delusion. It's about the religion. That is really the only true obstacle we are trying to overcome here, because the rest, look, the truth just makes sense. Really, it's the mind control thing that's keeping it from settling in. It's always been that.
Yeah,
that is our big challenge.
Two people, a man and a woman, could go somewhere with a whole bunch of like seeds, the technology to grow their food, and almost start a whole other colony somewhere by themselves. Like, that's sort of a nice thing.
Wait, that's interesting what you're saying. That sounds appealing. So are you suggesting that you kind of want to get out of this? If there's more land, does that mean like you would be interested in getting out of it? I
just want to know.
No, wait, I'm asking Daniel.
Sorry. You're right.
Oh, yeah, I would definitely want to go out and.
But why? Like to get away from this current monetary bullshit system and all that? Is that? I mean, there's plenty of land here that we know of, open land.
Yeah, but it's all just been like trampled on and.
Okay, so you don't like this current paradigm that we're stuck in, is what you're saying.
I mean, like I would go to Alaska maybe, and something like that is like interesting to me to go to. But I mean, going somewhere where no one knows anything about, like where the plants look different, the animals there are different, stuff like that. That would be amazing to me.
You want to go somewhere new and unexplored and kind of get out of the system here.
Yeah, and seriously, have a family out there somewhere. I mean, that's
okay,
appealing to me. I mean,
I get you. I can relate to that.
I would probably miss, the society that we live in right now, because it isn't really that bad. I mean, you can still have fun and stuff. But
to me, it's about the curiosity. Like this whole flat earth thing is open curiosity in me that I haven't had in a long time. And it's for, I mean, like Eric, you asked, do you care what the mass of the Earth is? Well, I've spent most of my life thinking the Earth is a ball with a 24,900 mile circumference. Well, imagine finding out that that's wrong, and you can actually find out what it really is, how it's really shaped. That curiosity for me is everything. That's why I'm here every day.
Yeah, I mean, if man could actually do that, it was truthful and honest and based in reality, I think that was cool. I'd be okay with that. I mean, it's not something personally that I'm devoted to.
And that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has their own little, their own goal in this, right?
I like the idea of actually there are some hidden places, and maybe for certain types of people that can go into a new. I think probably everyone has seen that. What's he call it? The cosmic egg or whatever, where kind of different lands that are based in different paradigms.
The Martin Kenny thing.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed his theories, you know, and he wasn't selling.
Yeah,
it.
wasn't he the one that was saying something about maybe like Mars or Venus being like the sun and moon or something of like another land that we haven't been to?
Yeah.
Like honestly, that theory to me is very interesting.
He suggested that these, when they speak of going to Mars, what it actually means is that these people who are stuck in this paradigm of iPhones and this transhumanist, transgender, whatever, all this mess, that they are going to Mars. Like that's where they want to go. But it's not, you don't go off a ball into space and go on another ball. It's that you're going to another realm, or let's say kingdom or ring on this plane. Like that made a lot of sense to me, actually.
That's sort of how it would be if it was a flat plane, right? The other planets or land wouldn't be up in the sky, you know? They'd be connected to the ground here, down below everything.
It's like Mars might be, Mars or Venus or something might be circling that land the way our sun is circling here. Like that's fascinating to me, just thinking about that. You know?
Like, yeah, his little, and he did build a model. He wasn't saying, you know, for sure that, you know, I'm sure ballers would jump on him. Who would have done model? Woo-hoo. But he did a lot of work in it. And, you know, he made many disclaimers that he's just piecing together lots of, you know, mythos, you know, from Viking to Chinese to Arabic to the Vedic texts. And he's just kind of piecing the congruent pieces together to find the parallels. And I liked it. It was appealing to me.
His cosmic egg theory is one of my favorites right now, to be honest.
What do you call it? The terror. What do you call that? Even NASA, like the toroid. Is that shape? What's that shape? It's kind of like a donut egg thing. What's the term?
Toroid.
Toroid. Torsion field. Yeah, there's something about this whole torsion field, and I don't know, man. I think it's somehow connected to like the magnetic field of the Earth, and you know, I don't have, you know, the knowledge of that, but like there's something about all of that. You know?
Well, I've kind of gotten to a point where I don't like to call people that they're just say they're lying, because if you look at that cosmic egg theory, and you listen to the Elon Musk saying, you know, we're going to Mars, you know, that's what we want to do. If you look at this guy's Martin's model, it's actually, they're not lying.
Kenny.
Yeah, because like, we're gonna go to space. I mean, when we travel, you know, when I go to my grandmother's house, I'm traveling through space. We're gonna go through space, and we're gonna go somewhere. So it would actually fit that model, like everything they say, that we're gonna, you know, travel through space and go to Mars. Well, actually, that's true.
Sure, if they want to say that traveling through space is the equivalent of getting in an airplane and flying through air. But to them, we're supposed to believe that traveling through space means traveling through a vacuum.
Right, exactly.
That's the problem.
But usually when they're speaking about it, they're not saying those things. Like, we're going to go through space and we're going to go to Mars. So, I mean, they're not really, if like that model's true.
Because the indoctrination has already been set in place.
Exactly.
So as soon as somebody says, oh, we're going to Mars, you, in the back of your head, you're already like, oh, so they're going to get in a rocket, they're going to go through space, they're going to, you know, put on their little, you know, space suits, and, you know, maybe we'll stop at the moon and play golf.
But if you look at what they say, they're never saying we're going to travel through the vacuum of space, and, you know, they're just saying, yeah, we're going to travel, we're going to build spaceships, and we're going to go to Mars. So maybe that, if you break it down from that egg model, they're not actually lying. I know that's weird to think about, but sometimes I look at it that way.
Well, they're lying when they're telling me that.
It's just another presuppositional model that is very interesting. But they know, all the guys that say that don't take it as absolute.
I'm going to leave these guys chatting away about their pseudoscience models, and I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all who tuned into the premiere of this after show, and of course a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. In a little under an hour's time, over on my main channel, Nathan Oakley 1980, there will be a live debate starting, so be sure to tune into that. Once again, I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!